Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all the students are okay. Well, this is Dr. Mubashir Nadeem, and once again we are meeting in session number 32. Before we start anything else, I think it is very important to understand what we did during session number 31. Yes, exactly. You're absolutely right when I ask you to recall. I'm sure that you recall that we talked about the monophthongs. In fact, we were engaged in understanding what are vowel sounds of English. And since we were only concerned with the first type, that is monophthong or the pure vowels, and today we have got something else to talk about, or rather to understand. I hope that you, before you start something else, you will try to understand what we've done previously, and of course these are the monophthongs which we understood. We try to analyze them. We try to understand the production of vowel sounds, of course the monophthongs, the single sounds in fact. Alright, so welcome to session number 32. This is session number 32 of this semester. Welcome to this session. Well, today's topic is in fact description of vowels. But it's not only description of vowels. That means that we are talking about, or we shall be talking about the monophthongs. We have done what are monophthongs. We tried to understand what are monophthongs and what is the description of each and every pure vowel. We try to understand that how many total pure vowels the monophthongs are, and we know that there are 12. And at the same time, we try to subcategorize the monophthongs. Of course, we talked about the short vowel sounds and long vowel sounds. All right, but this time we are going to talk about the diphthongs and the triphthongs. Definitely, these are the categories of vowel sounds of English. As I told you deliberately, I did not talk about triphthongs much because I told you that we shall be talking about in the later sessions, and now the session has come to talk about triphthongs at the same time. But first of all, we shall be talking about the diphthongs. What are diphthongs? And then we shall be engaged in understanding what are triphthongs. Well, my dear students, there are certain points we have to remember always. And for this particular session, the first point which is to be remembered always is that what is a diphthong in fact? How to define it, how to understand it, what to say about a diphthong. Of course, the whole session we shall be talking about all the diphthongs. What are they? Why they are called? What is the origin? We shall be talking about all these things, but I think this is the time to understand what is a diphthong. If there is a point, for example, and very important point, which should be remembered forever, what is that point? So the point is that a diphthong is a glide from one vowel sound to another within a single syllable. That's very important to understand. I am saying that a diphthong is a glide from one vowel sound to another within a single syllable. Now, I always present before you examples so that you may understand the statement. The statement is all the time there, but sometimes the statement becomes harder to understand as it is without an example. Now, over here, there is an example. Now, watch. There is a phoneme written within the slashes. I. But two specific signs are making one phoneme. Why it is a one phoneme? That's very important to understand. Because if there are two signs, both are written within brackets or within slashes. But the word in which this I is used is I. I am Dr. Mubashir. I am the instructor. I. Now the other words are my. The first word has got only one letter, and that is a complete word. The next word has got two letters, complete word. Then there is a third word, and that word has got three letters, that is try. So that means these are not the spellings which are more important so far as the phonology of English is concerned, or phonemic transcription is concerned. These are the phonemes. I said that a diphthong is a glide from one vowel sound to another within a single syllable. And for your understanding, I have presented the example of the phoneme I. It's not I, it's I. And for that very reason, I used this phoneme in three different words. First one is a single letter word, the second one is double letter word, and the third one is three letter word. The first one is I, the second is my, and the third one is try. But remember, in all these words, one phoneme is common, I. In I, it is complete phoneme I. In my, two phonemes are there. The first one is M, the second one is I. And in the third word, T, R, I. Alright, T, R, I. So there are three phonemes. It is possible some of the students may feel that why there are two signs. When you put this question on yourself, the answer is very much written in the first part of this statement, and that is, a diphthong is a glide from one vowel sound to another within a syllable. Within a syllable. Right? It's very important to understand. Now, the most important thing which you must remember, that diphthong, whatever it is, we have defined what is a diphthong. When I said there is always a very important point to remember, and the point to remember over here is that a diphthong is a glide from one vowel sound to another within a single syllable. And for that very reason I have used, for the example's sake, one particular phoneme that is pronounced as I. And I have used this single phoneme in three different words, such as I, my, and try. Alright? But phoneme is one. And this is a glide from one vowel sound to another. I. Now that's why, let's see the second statement. This is different from a monophthong. Is it okay? When you talked about monophthongs, I hope you remember that there is a single sign reserved for one phoneme. And they are not glides. There is no glide from one vowel sound to another. Not at all. If you say E, I, whatever the sound, you name it, there is no glide from one vowel sound to another. So diphthong is different from the monophthong. Alright? It is different from the monophthong, where there is just one vowel sound. This is what I've already talked about, such as in man or san, man, san. And the sound is a. What is the sound? A. So you can see within the slashes there is one sign or symbol. Even two signs are not there. So that's why you can see that in I, they glide from one vowel sound to another. Is it clear? My dear ones, remember, diphthongs are sounds that begin as one vowel. Now this is further explanation what we talked about in the previous slide. That diphthongs are sounds that begin as one vowel and end as another. So now the words are changed to understand. Time and again I present certain statements with different phrases, right? Sometimes the sequence is changed so that you may be able to understand. This time the statement says that diphthongs are sounds that begin as one vowel and end as another. So that means glide from one vowel sound to another. This is the same case, while gliding between them. Now, diphthongs are sounds that begin as one vowel and end as another, while gliding between them. So there is a glide, in fact. These are gliding sounds. This is what you have to remember. So that's why, for this particular reason, they are described as glide vowels. So the simple outcome is, what are diphthongs? And the technical answer is, they are glide vowels. They are glide vowels. And a common man can say anything else, but a graduate whose major is English, in fact, when the question is for him or her, the answer should be like this. If the question is, what are diphthongs? The answer should be, they are glide vowels. And for explanation, you can say diphthongs are sounds that begin as one vowel and end as another, while gliding between them. Now, there could be a question, how many are they? How many are they? So every modern authority says that there are 8. There are 8 diphthongs in English language. How many? 8. So if there is a question, how many are they? So the answer is there are 8. Is it clear? Now, what are diphthongs in phonetics? The question arises then, what are diphthongs in phonetics? If somebody puts a question like that, what are diphthongs in phonetics? So the answer could be, in phonetics, it is a gliding vowel in the articulation of which there is a continuous transition from one position to another. Now this is the third dimension to understand what is a diphthong. There are certain possibilities, always remember. Always remember, you must have certain answers with you, but the meaning of the crux, the concept behind each and every answer is the same. If there is a question, for example, if there is a debate or discussion point is required, that what in fact diphthong is in phonetics. So the answer is that in phonetics it is a gliding vowel in the articulation of where there is a continuous transition from one position to another. So that means to understand a diphthong, what we should be knowing is that there is some sort of, or rather there is continuous transition from one position to another. For example, I, as I told you, and I used I in 3 different words. Continuous transition. I-A. I-A. Or for instance, A, late, gate, fade. Alright? So, what in phonetics our diphthong is? Yes, in phonetics it is a gliding vowel in the articulation of where, in the articulation of which there is a continuous transition from one position to another. That is the point, that is the significant point in this statement. That in phonetics, when it is known as a gliding vowel, what is a gliding vowel then? We understand, alright, the phrase is gliding vowel. Then we have to ask, what is a gliding vowel? In the articulation of which there is a continuous transition. So that is the spot you have to focus. when we are articulating the diphthongs of English, remember, we must feel there is continuous transition from one position to another. Take up the case of I or A or O, whatever it is. Remember, at the same time, diphthongs are to be contrasted in this respect with so-called pure vowels. Now, pure vowels, that is to say, what are? They are unchanging or steady state, steady state, unchanging vowels. This is what we call pure vowels. And our diphthongs are, in fact, contrast. With respect to what? With respect to our pure vowels. And what are pure vowels? They are unchanging, in fact, steady state vowels. This is what we have to understand. Alright? So, they are contrasted with what? Diphthongs are contrasted with what? With pure vowels. Pure vowels or the monophthongs, they are unchanging. They have got steady state. Is it clear? So that is the big difference in between a diphthong and a monophthong. But at the same time, there are certain other things you must remember so far as the understanding of diphthongs is concerned. For example, though they are single speech sounds, always remember, they are single speech sounds. I told you that each diphthong is an independent phoneme. So, though they are single speech sounds, diphthongs are always, they are usually represented in a phonetic transcription of speech by means of a pair of characters. That's very important to understand. I'm saying that though they are single speech sounds, what? Diphthongs. So the diphthongs are usually represented in a phonetic transcription of speech by means of a pair of characters, indicating the initial and final configurations of the vocal tract. That is something new now we understand about diphthongs. They are single speech sound. Each diphthong is a single speech sound. You must remember that each diphthong is a single speech sound. In phonetic transcription, what happens in fact? So they are always presented through pair of signs. Right? Signs are there, two signs are there. But in fact, these signs are telling us what? They are indicating what? They are indicating the initial and final configurations of the vocal tract. It is the configuration of the vocal tract, in fact, we are talking about when we are saying glide from one vowel to another. So what is the configuration of our vocal tract at that time? Right? So that's why two signs are together. But remember, each diphthong is a single speech sound. This is the point you must never forget. Remember, many of the vowel sounds in most dialects of English, I'm saying in most dialects of English, are diphthongs. For example, the vowels of out, O-U-T, out, eyes, they're represented by ow and I, respectively. Now, out, ice, thrice, mice. So now we understand these are characters, in fact. Pair of characters are there. So one is indicating the initial, the other one is indicating the final configuration of the vocal tract. These are the points we have to remember when we talk about diphthongs. Is it clear? Further, it is very important to understand that a diphthong thus always occupies one syllable. Diphthong always occupies one syllable. That's very important to understand. Diphthong always occupies one syllable. If two adjacent vowels form the nuclei of two successive syllables, they are not a diphthong. if two adjacent vowels form the nuclei of two successive syllables, they are not a diphthong. For example, now take up the example, three words are there in front of you. The vowels in three words. The statement I have read and I repeat for you. A diphthong thus always occupies one syllable. If two adjacent vowels form the nuclei of two successive syllables, they are not a diphthong. And for example's sake, I am saying, look at the vowels in the words. What are the words? Bay, boy, and buy. All these are diphthongs. B, a, b, oi, b, I. But the vowels in doing are two different vowels. Doing, doing, d, u, ing, u and e. U and e have been used in the word doing. But so far as the three words are concerned, which I have just presented before you, bay, boy, boy, they are diphthongs. B or b plus a, bay. B plus oi, boy. B plus I, boy. They are all diphthongs. But remember, the vowels in doing are two different vowels. They are separate vowels. They are not diphthongs. Do, d, u, I, ing. Doing, because they belong to two different syllables. Doing. Doing. The first syllable is do and then ing. Now read the statement. A diphthong thus always occupies one syllable. If two adjacent vowels form the nuclei of two successive syllables, they are not a diphthong. They are not a diphthong. The words I have presented with diphthongs are bay, boy, buy. And then I have presented before you the word doing. Doing. Right? Two syllables are there. But in do, d and u, and in ing, I and ing. So two separate syllables are there. So that's why they are not diphthongs. Is it clear? But they are independent, different vowels. Because they belong to two different syllables. This is what we tried to understand when I read the first statement in front of you. Is it clear? For a passing reference, I think you need to understand this slide. Remember, one end of the diphthong is generally more prominent than the other. One end of the diphthong is generally more prominent than the other. I repeat. One end of the diphthong is generally more important than the other. Now, what in fact in it? What is in it now? Remember, diphthongs are termed decrescendo. Decrescendo of falling. If the first element is louder or more prominent than the second, and crescendo or rising if the second element is louder or more prominent than the first. A, E, I, E, ow, U, ow, O, U, O, E. Right? You have to understand them. So one part is, if I mean, for understanding, say, if I say that, right? One end, in fact, I should be saying that one end is generally more prominent than the other. This is what you remember. Why? Because this is the gliding vowel. Is it clear? Well, to understand the previous slide, it's very important to understand this slide and what's written on this slide. The statement is self-explanatory. I would like to read it for you so that you may understand the previous slide and, of course, the concept which is over here. Remember, all the English diphthongs are falling diphthongs. All the English diphthongs are falling diphthongs. That's very important to understand. because in them the first element is louder or more prominent than the second element. Now watch, if I say A, the first element is louder, not the second one. If I say I, the first one is louder than the second one. If I say Oi, the first one is prominent than the second one. And if I say Ow, Ow, the first one is dominant, not the second one. Oh, the first one is dominant. So now you're in the position to understand that all the English diphthongs are falling diphthongs. Why? Because the first element in each and every diphthong is louder, or rather more important, or prominent, than the second element. So the first element is louder or more prominent than the second one. So that is what makes a diphthong. So all English diphthongs are falling diphthongs. This is what you must always remember. If there is a question that do you think that English diphthongs are falling or rising, the answer should be no, all English diphthongs are falling, not rising. That's very important to understand. Alright? Well, my dear student, this time we know that all English diphthongs are falling diphthongs. That's very important to understand. But at the same time, there are certain things we must try to understand further, that diphthongs are represented in phonetic transcription by a sequence of two letters. How the diphthongs are represented in phonetic transcription? Yes, the answer is, or the explanation is, that they are represented in phonetic transcription by a sequence of two letters. Now, two letters. That means the first showing the position of the organ of speech at the beginning of the glide. Now I want you to recall the importance of organs of speech. Time and again I presented many slides and diagrams before you or to you, so that you may be able to understand what is the role of each and every speech organ during the production of speech sounds. And here we can understand, since I presented the description of vowels in detail with the help of charts, at the same time what is the elevation of our tongue, high, mid, low, whatever it is. Now, to understand this statement, you can recall all those slides, you can recall all those diagrams or charts. Now it says that diphthongs are represented in phonetic transcription by a sequence of two letters. What happens? In phonetic transcription, the diphthongs are represented how? By a sequence of two letters. The first showing the position of the organ of speech at the beginning of the glide. There are two letters, two signs are there. The first one, in fact, tells us what is the position of speech organs at the beginning of the glide, when the glide takes its start. And the second, their position at the end. That's why all English diphthongs are falling, because it's a glide. I, oi. Right? So I repeat this statement for you, that diphthongs are represented in phonetic transcription by a sequence of two letters, the first showing the position of the organs of speech at the beginning of the glide, the second their position at the end. So that's why the first part is always prominent. That's very important. The first element is always very important. The first letter is always very important because that has got prominence. So in the case of the closing diphthongs, the second letter indicates the point toward which glide or movement is made. Now that is the point to understand. The closing sign, the closing letter, the second letter, the second sign of the diphthong. As I told you that each and every diphthong is an independent phoneme and it has got its own sound. There is a vowel glide when we talk about diphthongs, when we produce diphthong, but remember that is the movement in fact. What is the glide? That is the movement, shift from one place to another. Of what? Of the organs of speech. Where? In the mouth. So in the case of the closing diphthongs, the second letter indicates the point toward which glide or movement is made. A, I. So movement is from R to I. Are you getting my point? The movement is from R to I. I. Is it clear? Now I want to present before you certain diphthongs. Of course there are 8, as I told you. There are 8. All the modern authorities, they believe that there are 8 diphthongs in English language. At the same time, there are certain words given under each and every heading. Right? So I have given some sort of glide, of course, in the table. You can see. The first diphthong is ear. 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 Say after me. Ear. The key words are here, near, dear, weird. Now it's very interesting. In here, R is dropped. In near, R is dropped. In dear, R is dropped. In weird, again R is dropped. So why R is dropped? I told you in British English, if R sound is followed by a consonant sound, it is dropped, and you can say after R there is a consonant sound, D. So the sound of the diphthong is ear, here, near, dear, weird. The next diphthong is ur. Ur. Endure. Tour. Pure. Poor. What are the words? Endure, tour, pure, poor. The next diphthong is a. A. Make, brain, play, ate, great, they. I repeat. The sound is, the diphthong is A. The keywords make, brain, play, ate, great, they. The next sound is O. O. What is the diphthong? O. And what are the keywords? Go, low, bode, boat, toe, so, shoulder. The next diphthong is oi. Oi. The words are boy, toy, noise, voice. The next diphthong is air. Air. The keywords are there, air, share, rare, pair, bear. The next diphthong is I. And the keywords are time, type, my, lie, buy, I, high, height. And the final diphthong is ow. Ow. And the keywords are how, loud, mouse, about, cow, allow. So I hope that you understand now what is the vowel glide when we say a diphthong. I told you, and I think I remember that I discussed this point time and again with you when I said that remember the big problem with the second language learners in our society is that most of the second language learners, of course the learners of English, they find difficulty in pronouncing these diphthongs because that is a vowel glide, right? You might have seen I presented before you certain words pronounced or mispronounced words, or mostly, you can see around you that those words are mispronounced without any vowel line, and that's a big issue. What is the recipe? I always say what is the recipe? The recipe is that you have to write down the words and you have to pronounce them time and again. Here, near, dear, weird, endure, tour, poor, pure, poor, make, brain, play, eight, great, they, go, low, boat, toe, so, shoulder, boy, toy, noise, voice, there, air, share, rare, pair, bear, time, type, my, lie, buy, I, high, hide, how, loud, mouse, bout, go, allow. So the way this I'm just practicing, sometimes go for slow practice, and then afterwards little faster. Afterwards, but remember, in the beginning you have to learn it. First of all, spot the sign. Spot the sign that you should be capable of writing the symbol or sign of diphthong, and then produce the sound. That's very important. Then use the sound in the word, and then afterwards, definitely, practice makes a person perfect. This is what I heard about. All right. Now, this is the point you must have talked about, or maybe somebody else talked about these things. I still remember I had a talk on this, but I asked you not to think about that. At this point, I want you to understand that there are certain English words such as music, new, one, win, when, so that we would immediately think of as diphthongs. So this is very important to understand. But remember, if they are not diphthongs in English, what are they then? Because I've been claiming that all modern authorities, whatever the authorities, that says that there are only 8 diphthongs in English. But these words, for example, which I have presented before you, if they are not diphthongs in English, then what are they? That's the question. Think about the answer before we just talk about the second slide, the next slide. Think about the answer. What could be your answer? I talked about this issue in the previous sessions, I still remember. And at the same time, I asked you not to get yourself involved at this stage to understand why it is so, why it is so. But the answers were there. I still remember I gave you the answer. So before we just proceed, I want you to think about your answer, and then when I pick up the next slide, I want you to tell you the answer. All right? So if they are not diphthongs in English, then what are they? That was the question. That was the query. So these words include sounds which are called semi-consonants or even semi-vowels sometimes. Do you remember I talked about this semi-consonants, semi-vowels sometimes, and the symbols are very much in front of you, y and w, y and w. For example, when we tried to classify the consonant sounds of English, and we came to know there are bilabial sound p, b, m, and the fourth was within brackets. Do you remember? W. And I said some people call it half bilabial, some people call it semi-vowel sound, some people call it semi-consonant sound. Alright? That's very important to understand. So you must have this understanding with you, that there are only 8 diphthongs in English. No more diphthong is included. You don't have to talk about that. There are certain people who believe there are that there are 9 diphthongs in England. In England, some people feel that there are 9, but remember, all modern authorities, this is what I told you, they believe that these are 8 diphthongs, and you must get yourself stuck to this idea, okay? So I'm trying to make you understand again that there are only 8 diphthongs in English language, and whatever you see now, they are not diphthongs. These are the opinion of the people. So, however, to have the whole picture in your mind, it is advisable to be aware of their existence and to know how they are considered in English. So that was the reason I wanted to give why. because there must be some sort of picture and clear picture in your mind. What are they in English? Because some people believe that these are semi-consonant sounds or semi-vowel sounds. But you remember, always remember, my dear students, that there are 8 diphthongs in English language, and we have analyzed them. I have tried to present before you the sounds together with the keywords. Is it clear? Well, by this time we know, all of us know, that what is a diphthong. We know that it is a vowel glide. Now it is a time to understand what is a triphthong. Let me read this statement for you. It is a monosyllabic speech sound sequence perceived as being made of 3 differing vowel qualities. A monosyllabic speech sound sequence perceived as being made up of 3 differing vowel qualities, as the pronunciation of ow, especially in R dropping dialects. So this is what I am saying, where R is dropped. There are certain dialects in English where R is dropped. So 3 different what? Speech sound, monosyllabic. Number 1. 3 differing vowel qualities. 3 different vowel qualities. In some simple words, 3 vowels together. The word is ow. Now watch. Ow. A, U, 3 differing vowel qualities are here, and the word is ow, O-U-R. Same is the case with H-O-U-R, ow. Are you getting my point? Triphthong is a monosyllabic speech sound sequence perceived as being made up of 3 differing vowel qualities, as the pronunciation of ow, and especially in R dropping dialects. That's very important. Okay, so that means these diphthongs are used where? In R dropping dialects of English. So what's its origin? So some linguists believe that mid-16th century from French triphthong. That comes from tri or 3 on the pattern of diphthong. If there are 2 sounds in diphthong, we can say 3 sounds in triphthong. This is what is a triphthong. That means triphthong. 3 vowel sounds together in very simple words. 3 differing vowel qualities. That is the technical answer. And the word is ow. Is it clear? Now remember, my dear students, triphthongs are also called vowel sequences. There are 3 general types of vowels apart from short vowels and long vowels, which are, now watch, 3 types of vowels. Simple vowels, we named them monophthongs, diphthongs, and triphthongs. Now the simple answer is, if somebody is asking you, tell me the types of vowels, the answer is there are 3 types of vowels. Simple vowels, you can call them monophthongs, and they are monophthongs. The second is diphthongs, and the third one is triphthong. Monophthong, 1 sound. Diphthongs, 2 sounds, 2 vowel sounds together. Triphthongs, 3 vowel sounds together. That is the simple answer. Alright? Now further, what you can understand and what you can say or what you can learn about triphthong is that triphthongs are one of the 3 types of vowels. This is what you understand already. They are formed when 1 vowel sound follows a diphthong. That means there is a diphthong and there is another vowel sound added to the diphthong. That makes a triphthong. So each one of them should be pronounced normally with a smooth glide between them. And the most common sequences are created by adding a to a diphthong. Schwa. So that means when we add schwa, mostly, alright, to a diphthong, it becomes a triphthong. Is it clear? Now, these are the examples of triphthongs, right? What we call vowel sequences. All right? You have 6 words in front of you. They have been phonetically transcribed. Let's learn them. First the general English, then the phonetic or the phonemic English, the phonemic transcription. Say after me. Iron, quiet, trial, player, betrayal, grey-eyed. Iron, quiet, trial, player, betrayal, grey-eyed. Grey-eyed. Okay? Now look at this slide. Watch. There are 5 triphthongs. First is A plus A. Second is I plus A. Third is O plus A. Fourth is OU plus A. Fifth is O plus A. This is what I told you. You have to add what to a diphthong? Of course, schwa, A. As in, first one is air, layer, player. The second one is ire, tire, fire, liar. The third one is oil, royal, loyal, employer. The fourth one is hour, power, shower, hour. The fifth one is over, lower, slower, mower. Is it clear? Now this is how you can do practice at home. When you are free, you can have this kind of practice. Transcribe the following words. Alright, there are 9 words you can see on left side, general English words, and on the right side a transcription is there. It is done for you, right? But I want you to do this kind of exercises. I want you to do this exercise, right? And you can WhatsApp me. That's very important to understand that you have to WhatsApp me this exercise. You have to do this activity. Had you been in the classroom or face-to-face interaction, I would definitely ask you to please transcribe and just speak before me. But this time, since we are just having these classes virtually, I want you to practice this and I want you to record your voice, write all these nine words. You have to transcribe them. Of course, transcription is very much given over here, but I want you to record your voice. That is what is the requirement from you. I want you to record it, and then send me. But first practice, right? First practice both general and phonetic transcription. Alright, both are written over here. But I want you to do this exercise at home when you're free. Is it clear? Well, my dear students, before we talk about self-assessment component of this session, I think it's appropriate to talk about what we've done today. We try to understand, first of all, what are vowel sounds of English, and of course, during the previous session, I had a talk with you on monophthongs, and we tried to understand monophthongs. We transcribed them, we demonstrated them, we learned them, right? And this time, we try to understand two more types of vowels. If there are total 3 types of vowel sounds, simple vowels, or maybe monophthongs, diphthongs, and triphthongs. Today what we've done is that we try to understand what are diphthongs and what are triphthongs, and what is the difference between a diphthong and a triphthong. It's very important that you must try to learn what is the difference first of all. At the same time, I would like to say, and without any fear I say, that there is no need to get confused about the use of triphthongs. The conceptual understanding is very important for the students. Since we don't have English speaking environment where triphthongs are mostly used, because as I told you that when R sound is dropped in certain English dialects, so people are more concerned and conscious about these triphthongs. But what I want you is that you must understand at least that what is the difference, or how you can classify different types of vowels. Definitely you should be knowing what is a monophthong, what is a diphthong, and what is a triphthong. Today I want you to in fact practice diphthongs, and I want you to record your demonstration. I want you to share your demonstration with your class fellow. That's very important. All right, you must exchange your demonstrations and try to understand what are the things you missed and what are the things you learned, and you can also WhatsApp your instructor that demonstration. So thank you very much for this session from my side. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.